Thank you, Alison, for an inspiring start to the morning. I think what resonated with me the most is that marketing starts with your corporate character, your belief system, your purpose, and your mission. By way of introduction, my name is Josh, and I lead our EMEA Marketing Solutions business. Next up, we have a session that looks at the economic impact of B2B and how it has an ability to drive growth for both clients and agencies. So I'm delighted to welcome up sort of fellow advisory council member for Adweek and partner at PwC for their TMT business in Europe, Phil Stokes.
If this is the party, I'm not quite sure why I got my invitation, because I'm not the marketer in the room. I work at PwC, which is a professional services business. So actually, I'm going to talk with two hats. One is as the numbers guy, as you kindly introduced me. The other is as somebody who's run a significant B2B campaign for ourselves at PwC over the last 12 months, and maybe just some observations and some experience of having done that. So when Josh, who I sit with on the advisory board for Adweek, and Emma asked me to speak for a few minutes this morning about the size of the business-to-business trading market, I guess we sat and reflected as to why that was even necessary. And it's because the way that we measure the economy doesn't really give us a great view of business-to-business trading. When the economists and government statisticians talk about the economy, we measure it in something called the gross domestic product, or the GDP, a measure of the size or the activity of what's going on in our economies. So we do know from those numbers that, for example, last year, worldwide, the level of economic activity was worth $76 trillion. We know that we can split that country by country, so that we know that the US was the largest single market with a GDP of $17 trillion last year. And that the UK, for example, had an economy worth in those GDP terms of $2.7 trillion last year. But if you really want to get to what those numbers mean, you need to start to drill into what it really means and how the GDP number is generated. So if you get into those country analysis, you go to the US or the UK's number, and you unpick how that number is generated, about 65% of it comes from what's called consumption. And that's really the end spending that you and I do on finished products. It's sometimes known as household spending. But that 65% of the economy is measured in what we spend on goods, products and services at the end of the chain. About 20% of the economy is generated by government investment, so whether that's in infrastructure or in products and services that the government need. And 15%, the remaining 15%, is defined as something called business investment. But business investment here is what businesses invest for their own capital infrastructure, so rent, premises, capital equipment, etc. It's not a measure of the trading of those businesses. Now that's quite unfair. If you think about that 65% of the economy, which is deemed to be trading and household consumption, take a product like a car or a washing machine. The price that we pay for that as the end B2C transaction, which is captured in the data, isn't just a simple B2C transaction. Of course, making that car or that washing machine has had any number of business-to-business transactions which have generated it in the aggregation, the compilation and the construction of that asset, which is then sold as the final B2C. There's multiple B2B activity going on in there. But we're not capturing it in a way that says, well, how much of that final price, how much of the economic activity of the country is generated by B2B? So we need to kind of unpick and think about how it comes together. There's no hard and fast number on this, but many industry analysts think about 50% of that consumption spend is really being generated by the B2B activity, which has actually put those finished goods together. So if you look at it that way, B2B transactions, although they're not being captured, they're an absolutely vital underlying part of the economy because they generate the stuff that we all buy. Now, I think it is right that B2B has been underrepresented at places like Adweek, whether it's Cinderella or whether it's something else. It is clear that we don't talk about B2B marketing or B2B advertising in any way the same way that we talk about B2C advertising, big creative brand building activity. At least I don't think we do. On occasion, and just to give Alison and IBM a really good fillip for this, I think something like IBM's Smarter Planet campaign was a perfect example of a really great B2B brand activity, but that played out in television and press as well as in B2B media. So just occasionally the creative community gets hold of something and it kind of adopts a B2B campaign and gives it the credibility and the profile. But broadly, I think we're mostly talking about B2C when we come together in these forums. Now, B2B marketing to me is very different. If I think about my organisation, B2B marketing, and indeed some of my clients, we can often, if there's a specialised product, we actually know pretty much every potential purchaser for our product. And therefore, brand building advertising activity is not as effective day to day as dedicated account targeting, where we invest time and effort into getting to know the buyers individually. That's still B2B marketing, but it's not B2B advertising. I'm going to unpick a little bit of that as we go through. There is a slide, which if I can make it come up there, perfect. I'm just going to walk you through a couple of numbers in this. What we do each year at PwC is we analyse the entire entertainment and media industry, both what's gone on in the last 5 years and what's going to happen in the next 5, really with a view to saying who's making money in this market, who's actually driving revenue, what are the trends or drivers that we see across the entertainment and media markets, and what can we infer about the direction of travel. Now, what we've got up on chart here on the left-hand side is our analysis of something that we describe as the business-to-business media industry. So it's companies that have set themselves up to be sellers of data or information that help other companies do their work more efficiently or effectively. So it could be deep databases of information, or it could be trade journals or professional books, or organising trade fairs where people come together. In the numbers on the left-hand side, if you look at the 2014 number, those businesses together generated revenues last year of $192 billion worldwide. Within that number, about 2/3 of that was actually in the sale of data or the provision of information. So subscriptions to databases, subscriptions to trade journals or professional books. But in the $192 billion, $66 billion of that was advertising. So that's advertising placed by businesses with specialist business-to-business media companies in order to reach their intended audience through advertising. Is that a good number? Well, let's put it in context. Total advertising worldwide last year was $539 billion. So the $66 billion that's going into B2B media is about 12% of the advertising market. Now, something like IBM's Smarter Planet proves that not all business-to-business advertising is going into those specialist B2B media publications. Some of it is in more traditional media. So it's not captured in this way, but we do know that if you look at television or you look at press, it's dominated by B2C advertising, but there is some B2B in it. So let's impute, just for the purposes of this morning, let's suggest that maybe the 12% which is going into B2B media is also supplemented by, a few percentage points more of B2B advertising that's going elsewhere. So let's say it's 15% of total global advertising, or maybe even 20%. The question that we set ourselves when we were coming into this session was, if B2B trading, business-to-business trading, in the compilation and aggregation and construction of B2C trading, so the end product, is 50% of the end value of B2C. So if B2B is 50% of that economy, is spending 20% on B2B marketing through advertising the right profile? 50% of the trading, 20% of the advertising. Question, I don't know. But if I do think about my own organisation, our traditional way of working through our marketing mix has been to say, we will lead on dedicated account targeting. So we'll create teams that target particular potential purchasers. We'll put a lot of effort into those teams. We'll supplement that by investment into thought leadership or content that we can push into the market, but in reality push direct to those target clients. We'll spend money attending conferences or organising events or hosting dinners, again to talk to those potential purchasers in a more intimate setting. And we are exclusively a B2B brand. all of our services are applied to other corporates. So that's the way that we've looked at it, supplemented by a small amount of traditional advertising, so brand building advertising in both B2B media and traditional media. Now, why do I highlight that? Well, it's because we're beginning to wonder whether that's the old model. Is there a better, more efficient, more effective, more innovative way of doing our B2B marketing and changing that mix? So I mentioned that I ran a campaign last year. It's the biggest and most significant piece of advertising around a campaign that PwC has done in recent memory. So it was designed to be a fully immersive social media-led campaign. It was developed in partnership with an agency, actually a couple of agencies from WPP. And it was all to do with the fact that our belief is the world is in beta. The world is a constantly changing place where doing business and consumer interactions are very, very different today to how they were yesterday. And in that constant iterative change, we will constantly be in beta, constantly testing and moving forward. Because of that, because it was designed to showcase our digital skills, we led online. So a big online, immersive, social media-led campaign, which if anyone wants to see how creative an accountant can get when they're driving one of those, it's at worldinbeta.com. I recommend you go and have a look, see what I was up to for a year and a half of my life. But the reason why we did it that way, and we decided to go back into advertising, and in particular into social media advertising for that campaign, was a comment that I got from my head of online as we were developing that. And he said, let's look at the way we've done some of our business-to-business marketing in the past. So that content creation, where we sit in a dark room, we produce worthy books of thought leadership, we create them, we publish them, and then, not to say our CRM system is not perfect, but we send them out in the hope that they'll be relevant to the people that we're sending them to. Our head of online described our strategy there as almost like playing Angry Birds. So we get this heavy book, we throw it over the walls of PwC, and we hope it hits someone who'll be motivated to open it, read it, turn to the back page, see the contact list of the authors, and get in touch with us. We can now see that the technology is enabling us to do things in a more efficient and effective way. So the fact that we can now put short, concise blogs or white papers or case studies into the LinkedIn feed of our clients, or we can make data and charts and information available to people in a way that they can cut it and slice it and include it in their own material, is a completely different way that our brand is interacting in the marketplace. That's all to say that I think this is a hugely dynamic time for B2B. The scale of the market is there, but it is underserved in terms of the recognition that B2B marketing gets. But the activity is huge, and the opportunity to now drive new techniques and to show the efficiency and the effectiveness of B2B marketing, I see both as a customer and also when I work with my clients. So hopefully that's done a couple of things just to set the scale of the ambition, the scale of the business-to-business trading, and also just a little insight into how me as a business-to-business client has interacted with B2B marketing over the last year. Thank you.